Hey guys, and welcome back to Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. Following that encounter with Catclatter and Forful, it seems that Mario and Luigi are now comets screeching towards the ground, and oh no, they're down, the Mario Brothers are down!
And that's how the Dino Kingdom became extinct.
Oh god. Ugh, man, we're not even past the border yet. Oh god, I think you know what that means, Eldragon.
I think everyone is dead. That's what that means. Look at that Koopa down there. Oh my god.
Oh, they've survived worse than Mario and Luigi. I can't think of any events right now, but trust me, it's legit.
That's not just a joke. He'll actually get that ability later on. You're practicing.
Ah, foreshadowing. Nice, nice. Just have a little look around here, the crash site, if you will.
Yeah, this is the first major area of the game. It's one where, still fairly easy off. I wouldn't say the game starts to get annoying in terms of the platforming until we get to, the mountain, because again, it being the first game, it has a particular platforming idea in mind, but it's not perfect. Later games refine it to a degree, but here you're going to have to deal with a lot of particular switching back and forth, which we'll get into in detail as we go.
I would say Chocolate Woods is where it starts to get, where there's a difficulty spike, shall we say, but we're a bit off that, so let's talk about the border jump in the meantime. You got any good memories of this, THD?
I failed it the first few times I attempted it.
Well, you'll be happy to know that I did it on my first try.
Oh, you mean your first try that you're allowing us to see
No,
the final recorded product, yo,
No, I mean the first try, and believe me, I'm just as surprised as you are. We don't need to know the rules for this, I'll explain it in less than 10 seconds. You gotta jump over the ropes, you got a set number of lives. If you lose all your lives by getting hit, you basically have to do the minigame again.
I'll just say this now. This minigame in particular isn't bad. Really, you just gotta make sure you're not jumping with both brothers at the same time. You can clear it. But the thing is, this game really kind of made me realize how much I just don't really like required minigames in video games. And by that I mean, just stuff that's not part of the main gameplay that you have to do for some reason in order to progress the story. I don't mind it as an optional thing. Like, hey, a side quest, okay, that's fine. But I just feel like most of the time when they include that and require it in order to progress, it's just filler and it wastes my time. It's not gonna get too bad in this game, but there's one particular minigame later on, and Tom, you know exactly the one I'm talking about, where we will get into this in detail.
What's a neat little touch, and something I never noticed until I was just passively watching some footage of the game, was the game just seems to go on at its own pace, and it ends when it feels like it, but in reality, there is a timer, and it's the flagpole in the background. When it reaches the top, the flag part of the flagpole, that's when the game ends.
Oh, I didn't notice that either. I just know about the end when, explodes and things like that.
Well, you're looking at the rope 95% of the time, so you're not going to be looking at the background, and it's funny because you mentioned last time that 80% of the time you can get away with dodging attacks by jumping with both brothers at the same time. It's stuff like that, minigames like that punish you for doing that. So the game will lure you into a false sense of security and then, hit you round the back of the head when you're not looking.
Now, you just checked the map we got for free back there. Make sure to enter these tubes. I did not actually do this my first time in the game, but this is basically your quick warp system that will allow you to get to different parts of the overworld more easily. It's sort of useful. I mean, it's okay in certain points, but really, if you're walking everywhere, you're not really going to be missing out on that much. It's not like a gigantic trek you would have to go to, so, it's optional.
Third time is not the charm, in my case.
Man, I always miss that one, I have to say. I'm not very good at jumping over these spikes, and again, it's teaching you that you cannot just rely on using both B and A at the same time.
I think that's why I had a lot of trouble with the game as a child, because my reflexes, well, they're not exactly great now, but believe me when I say they were a lot worse when I was a kid. See, I just went and missed that right there, because I was still getting used to the game again, because I had not played Superstar Saga in years. And I'm going to be real with you all, even with some of my favourite games like Xenoblade, I played Xenoblade, especially on the 3DS, a ton when I got it, because it was one of my favourite RPGs. But it will be probably at least another year until I go back to it, because I like to pace myself with my favourite games. So all my memories of enemy patterns and item locations and such in Superstar Saga, just gone, So I'm steadily, as you'll be seeing in this playthrough, relearning the game as we go.
That's probably for the best, because I feel when you approach games that way, and give yourself a chance to kind of forget what happens, it becomes fresh again. And I don't think my replays of this game will ever replace the first time I ever played this game. Like, with most really good games I like, but having that ability to kind of just forget and then just go back and discover, oh, this thing happens now. Oh, yeah, I remember this. That's still a pretty good feeling.
Yeah, like gameplay mechanics and item stuff, you'll forget. Story, you'll probably never forget. Maybe stuff in the middle of the game, but not the big plot points. And I'm never more jealous of people in, like, NeoGAF threads that talk about playing games for the first time as I am with RPGs and such. The story-heavy stuff.
Now I'll talk about how we're actually doing this playthrough in terms of recording in a little bit, but first, Bowser seems to be stuck between a cannon and a rock, I suppose.
Oh, this motherfucker. I remember you. I will never forget Tolstar.
Yeah, Tolstar, because he pays a toll. I don't know what the fuck Tolstar is. He's definitely not a bean. I'm gonna call him a fat sack of shit, because let's be honest, based on his personality, that's what most people would describe him as.
Well, he seems to have some sort of shell on his back. He's coloured like a bean, if you'll excuse my bean racism, but he also looks a bit like a tub of blubber. Oh, he's a gangster. Okay, he's extorting us right now. Look at that smug sack of shit.
Again, the animations are just great, and it really helps exemplify the personality that these characters have. Tolstar is another really great example of that. I'll just use my ESP to give you all my coins.
There's gonna be some kind of exchange rate fuckery. Yeah, here we go.
It's probably like this in the UK. You have to give all your dollars, your American dollars, to some fat winged toad motherfucker, and he converts them into pounds.
Well, they'll probably be worth less than dollars if, the current going rate's anything to go by at the time of this recording.
Do we really care if Bowser's reputation is ruined? Let's be honest, Mario has kicked his ass about 25 times at this point. I'm pretty sure he doesn't have a reputation anymore.
Well, this is a new adventure, TM, trademark in brackets and such, and we need Bowser. So we need Bowser to be on our good side, or on his good side, whichever comes first, and whichever is more beneficial for us. So, for the sake of keeping him sweet, we're going to go about and collect 100 Bean coins. This will be our currency for the game. You can get coins from, like, boxes and whatnot, the question mark blocks, and you can get them from defeating enemies as well. Helldragon said we're recording this game in a specific way. This is how it's going to go down. I'm not going to cut out, like, boss fights or anything, or trim them down, but what I will be doing is cutting out some of the random battles, or some of the battles, because as we said last time, there are no random battles. I'm rambling now. But you don't need to see, like, the same couple of flyers being fought every single time, so just to speed things up, I'll, cut out a few here and there.
And I do think that's important because I believe the way this game is set up and how I typically tend to play this game is that since there are no random encounters, there's a set number of encounters of enemies, in per section of all the various areas that you visit. And I believe you're basically sort of designed to kill them all at least once to be of an adequate level. When you take on the final boss, the experience is set up that way. So when I play the game, I like to clear every encounter in every area, except when I'm retreading through an area again. And I feel that gives me enough of a good stat-based edge, along with my reflexes, in order to deal with all the stuff that comes up.
Now, you'll notice we triggered a fight with one of the flies here, but a new enemy, like the Bullet Bill Blaster, appeared. That's another thing I'll be showing off. Like, if a new enemy crops up, I'll make sure that you guys get to see that. Nothing too difficult. They fire out bullet bills, they're easily dodged, and then you can just, like, jump on them, and bada bing, bada boom, they are gone. Man, Mario's stash rating is not all that high.
Well, to be fair, he put most of his points in power and jumping. I imagine Luigi, not being as good of a jumper, needed something to do with all of his points, so I guess he put it into his luxurious mustache.
Oh, yeah. No wonder he got a Mario Luigi game basically based around him. When's the last Mario Luigi game that basically sold its story through Mario's personality? Think about that for a second.
Well, maybe not his personality, but still, he does get first billing.
Oh, true.
Oh, I saw that the area back there was Area 64. I bet you felt happy about that.
It's like this game was built for me, and to be honest, Superstar Saga does basically tick off everything I want from an RPG. It's got a good sense of humour, the battling is fun, it makes, for lack of a better term, grinding enjoyable, and, just to reiterate this point, it's got a lot of humour, like we see here.
I just love how they fuck with each other in this game, you know, in terms of the interactions. It's just like, you know, every character, like I said before, feels so memorable. Like, and I guess that's why it burned me so badly, you know, judging the recent trend of Paper Mario games, and how they kind of rely on the Toads over and over. Even though the writing has supposedly improved, it just doesn't stack up compared to this one.
Well, to be honest, that kind of started, and this may be, like, a divisive or controversial comment, I don't care, I'm going to say, I think it started with Super Paper Mario, because while the villains are great, the story is decent, the NPCs are really nothing to write home about for the most part, they're just kind of like abstract shapes stuck together.
What's so odd is that these two actually recognize who Luigi is, and because it's a running joke in a lot of the games, most parts of it, that most people just do not know who Luigi is, which is understandable considering Mario's fame, but at the same time, you think that more people would have heard of the brother of Mario, you know?
Yeah, it's the Mario Brothers, not Mario singular.
Man, I'm pretty sure their company is named Mario Brothers. Are they like an LLC and incorporated? I always wondered about that.
Yeah, and they probably got a plethora of toads running the offices while they're away jumping on things, as is the way. Okay, not only do you pair up in battles, you also pair up on the overworld through bros actions and such. When Luigi is in the rear, if you'll pardon the terminology, you can do the high jump.
Depending on the position of your particular brother and who's selected, you can access certain moves. Here they're teaching two abilities to Mario and Luigi, the high jump, which is Luigi's main thing, and the spin jump. I hope there's not another word that I may have accidentally used instead. You know, that's basically Mario's version of that move. And that's another great thing about Superstar Saga, and there's that phrase again, here's another great thing about Superstar Saga, but I love the focus on the fact that they are brothers. They team up to do everything, not just on the field, but also these moves and how they play out in battle. And we're going to be getting more brothers moves, but it brings a real sense of camaraderie to things where Mario and Luigi team up actively to work together. My favorite animation in this game, by the way, this kind of relates, is when a brother is knocked out. Because what happens is that if an attack goes towards that brother that gets knocked out, the other brother will actually jump in, put the guy on his shoulders, and do the dodging for him, but he's slowed down because of the other brother's weight. And then, when you give him a one-up mushroom, the guy will eat it, he'll jump back up, he'll spin around, just like do a thumbs up at the other brother, then go, yeah, and they both snap their fingers and look back at the enemy at the same time. I'm like, oh, that's great.
Yeah, this game, it just feels really alive. And what's odd is, like, here you can basically switch formation, like have Luigi in the front and have, like, Mario in the back and vice versa. This was, I feel, really toned down in future games. Maybe they felt like it was a bit confusing for the players, like to have to deal with basically two main characters, but a lot, and Dream Team in particular comes to mind here. Like, you still have brothers' actions, but Mario, for the most part, is always at the front. Do you ever feel that way?
I don't necessarily think it's because it was confusing. I think it's because, and I will give this to Superstar Saga as a rare caveat I have against it, but it personally doesn't bug me that much. You switch brothers a ton in this game to do stuff like high jump, then go into a spin jump, then high jump again. You're switching back and forth all the time, rotating between different moves. And I can understand the desire to streamline that, so it doesn't feel like you're pressing buttons all the time just to platform through one area. I get that. And that's not really, the simplification isn't really that much of a problem for me as a result. Like, I get where they were coming from.
Yeah, well, at the same time, it just makes Superstar Saga all that more unique in that aspect.
If you have a move selected and you want to do a normal jump, you got to switch them out of it, and then you have to go back and things like that. So, again, I totally understand. Doesn't really bug me either way, but then again, I've sort of internalized the minor flaws this game has had because I just adore it so damn much.
Top 3 and all that. Okay, we have mastered the high jump and the spin jump. We'll be seeing the Star Shade Brothers later, and look out for the whole Other Brothers in Red and Green motif. You'll be seeing it at least 1 or 2 more times throughout the course of the game.
So were those guys wrestlers?
I believe they were like... The closest thing that comes to my mind is Toads, but I don't know, to be honest, because we are on the Bean Mushroom Kingdom border right now.
Yeah, what's great is that everything is different now, so you can't expect anything to be the same. One other thing I wanted to mention about in terms of platforming is that, like you said before, we'll be getting coins in various boxes. Now, not all of these boxes are normal question mark boxes. We have this box right here in particular, where you have to bounce back and forth between jumping as Mario and Luigi. And they have different item boxes as a result, like one that flies back and forth and you have to hit it with the appropriate timing. Boxes in later games that use like more brothers and things like that. You know, it's just another little fun way to take item collection and make it sort of a little mini game in its own right that fits within the Mario universe.
We're not done with tutorials yet, actually. We learned about Bro's actions in the field. Now we're going to learn about using those moves in battle.
This is the best part, because, like I said before, I think bro moves are probably some of my favorite special moves in any RPG, because that's another reason why I like Chrono Triggers so much. It's because you have two characters working together to do a more devastating attack, and here, the animations are really great in that you're just kind of flinging each other all over the place. You're using, like, hammers that we'll get later on. Spoilers, you get hammers, by the way.
Oh god, no.
And you're just doing, like, all this cool, crazy team-up shit, and it makes fighting bosses feel so much more satisfying, in my opinion, when they're working together to defeat a common foe. It's good stuff.
They brought stuff back that lets Mario and Luigi team up in later games, but it never really got back to the kind of simplistic bliss that the bro moves in Superstar Saga had for me, I'm gonna be honest.
And I understand that. Like, I admit that, like, you know, with Partners in Time, it basically took the brothers' attacks and replaced it with items, which you had to buy a bunch of. They weren't really tied to any sort of energy or MP system. I understand why that was bad. But at the same time, I felt that this game sort of took the brothers' moves in terms of physical actions only to its limit. I don't mind the fact that they introduced items. You know, later on they tied them into, like, brothers' points and MP and things like that. I don't mind the fact that they introduced items as new ways to do team-up attacks. I felt that adds some variety. But I do admit, like with later games, like with Paper Jam, the time it takes to execute these moves takes way too long. So if they just dial that back a bit, I'm personally gravy with it.
Especially the ones where you're basically, like, running towards the enemy from a long distance. It's just like, get to the point, really. Especially when you end up missing it, like me, 95% of the time.
We haven't gotten to this part yet, and I think they'll talk about this in a bit, but basically, brothers' attacks in this game have 3 different speeds. You do it slow down, and it tells you what button to press. You do it slow down, and then you just do it normal speed. Or, you know, you do it normal speed with buttons to press and normal speed. And the thing is, based on the speed you pick, it does more damage if you can land the attack correctly. But also, if you do a brother's attack enough, they will actually figure out an advanced alternate version of that attack where you basically switch the buttons being pressed and you unlock a completely new attack, which I thought was a great mechanic and really encouraged you to kind of master these moves at their top speed in order to unlock these advances more quickly. It's great stuff.
To answer, no doubt, millions of your questions, yes, we will be showing off the advanced moves. No, not as soon as we get them, because at the time I did unlock them, I did not know how to pull them off, because I never used them in my initial runs of the game, or my second run, or my third run, or even my fourth, because I was too scared to press B when it wanted me to press A.
I felt that way too. Only more recently have I taken to actually doing the attacks faster without the slowdown. And, you know, when you land them, it feels so much better. And, you know, the later Mario and Luigi RPGs kind of condition you to do it without the slowdown. But it does offer useful, like, extra options in case you want to slow down. They even have a separate menu where you can just practice that attack so you can get good at it before using it in battle, which I think is a really good feature.
We're just basically telling you what these guys have told you. Why are you even here right now?
Well, we were programmed in the game, and we were technically made before this commentary, so technically we have tenure.
Almost.
I psyched you out, guys.
Ah, you thought it was over, but it wasn't.
I have to say, though, these days, I'm I understand this was kind of a holdover from older games, like MP being used for like magic or special moves and things like that. But these days, I feel like a lot of RPGs are geared to relying on those so much that the standard attack doesn't really do anything. It's just like more of your backup option. I would prefer to see an RPG that kind of has abilities more on cooldown, and then your normal attack becomes so much more valuable as a result while you're waiting for stuff to cool down. Kind of like how Mass Effect does it, actually. Like, your main gun is still very used, like, most of the time, but you have the special abilities that can occasionally, help buff things up, but you can't just spam them, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, yeah, and look at this, we got a smorgasbord of enemies to take down, and we're gonna start with a bit of Splash Bros. Do you get it? Do you get it?
There we go, yeah, I got it, Tom, nicely done.
Okay, sorry, I got a little bit manic there.
A little bit. I'm glad at this point that you get, like, the brothers moves, because kind of, at this point, you don't have enough strong equipment or, stats in order to take out those bullet bills in, like, one hit. So sometimes you just have to make do with what you got.
Oh my god, landing these attacks perfectly feels really fucking good. And this is just the start of things, my friends. We'll be getting other bros attacks as we go through the game, and some of them are glorious, let me tell you what.
I have seen speedruns and playthroughs of this game, where you can basically do it with no damage, and you just dodge every attack, and they land each attack perfectly, and it's a sight to behold. It really, a rare RPG that rewards mastery, for actually playing the game, which you don't really get a lot of, I find.
Mostly it's just buff up your stats and basically tank the enemy to death,
I don't think there's anything wrong with that if there's enough of a strategic choice. Like, if you take Persona into account, which is very reliant on buffs and debuffing the enemy, actually using your brain during a fight, like, that's fine. Like, I don't have a problem with that. And even those games don't have random encounters anymore. You notice that, right? Nobody likes those. But, I mean, that's a fine gameplay style. I just happen to prefer this a lot more because I feel it's more rewarding to play.
Alright, let's buff up the BP a little bit. 2, I can live with that.
By the way, if you buff up the same stat over and over, the points you get for that stat will actually go down, like in terms of the random reel. So the game does encourage you to kind of switch it up.
I will say a bit of a beginner's trap, I shall say, is just buffing up your HP over and over and over. Don't do that shit, it will really come back to kick you in the arse down the line.
And if you're good at this game, you can actually just straight up neglect certain abilities. Like, for example, I've gotten to a point where I just don't bother to buff HP or defense. I just go for straight up attack, and I make them murder machines, and I just rely on my own dodging ability, and it just feels really good, yeah.
That's the ticket, man, that's the ticket. Did you see that we landed on 100 Bean coins exactly, by the way?
Yeah, the era is actually set up in order to, turn out that way.
Nice.
Oh no, I'm in the Bean Kingdom,
Luigi's right, yeah, you're here too, with me.
Yeah, eat shit, Mario.
Oh, I love mean Luigi for some reason. Alright, let's do some, fucking math here, carry the 2. Ah, yes, I'll have all 100 coins, thank you very much.
Oh, well, that worked out pretty well.
Oh, jeez, here comes the flimflammery.
Oh my god, Tolstar's a bitch, I didn't expect this at all.
Ah, what a welcher.
Well, now you know how it feels, Bowser.
I feel our first proper boss fight of the game coming on.
Bring it on.
Let's do this.
Let's go, you fat sack of shit.
Oh, this boss music. Oh god, it's good.
It's really good. It's not my favorite boss music in the series. I'd probably go to Dream Team's.
Oh, man,
but this one's
yeah.
still pretty memorable, yeah.
Alright, Tolstar, you've basically seen all this fat fool has to offer here. He will throw spike balls at you. They come in 2 varieties. One will just go straight along the ground that you have to jump over, and another one will try and trick you because it bounces.
Yeah, if he laughs before he throws his spike ball, it will bounce, so don't actually bother dodging.
But in the meantime, just keep pounding away and he'll be dead before you know it.
Yeah, he's a pretty easy boss, just kind of a bit of therapy, for him sending you on this little side quest.
I've noticed that a lot of the bosses I've fought like up to the point I've recorded to so far, take about 5 minutes or so, and this is just basically us doing the same strategy over and over. So are there any memories of Tolstar you want to bring up before we take this fall down?
Not really, no. I mean, like I said, he's a memorable character. You know, all the characters are memorable in this game. Not really too hard to defeat, but you really do have to be careful of that spike ball, because it will warn you that sometimes you don't actually want to be hitting that button. You really gotta watch your opponent.
Oh man, that's asking you to push against like muscle memory and whatnot, and for a kid of like 11 or 12 years old, I actually forget the year this came out, let me bring it up, but I was pretty young at the time. That's some serious Mojo Jojo right there. Okay, it came out in 2003.
Now, after a while, he will just start doing 2 attacks in a row, especially with ball throwing, so definitely keep an eye out for when he laughs so you don't dodge.
Man, I must have like improved so much from when I was a young, because that fight was piss easy.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I didn't really struggle with him my first time playing the game, but I was like a teenager back then. I wasn't that bad back then, I hope.
Okay, well, just shit all over young Tom 64's gameplay skills then.
Of course I will.
Okay, and it's a 1. That's why you don't try and buff up HP, because Karma will come back and kick you.
I think the Joestar is dead.
It's a pink star and everything.
Oh my god. What if Dio took his body instead? That'd be interesting.
Oh, here we go. How am I gonna launch him?
I think this is a bit of an overreaction, but at the same time, fuck you, Bowser, I don't care.
Okay, we can do that without you, turns out.
I can't make out with her unless you said it right!
Whee! And Bowser's gone for at least a few hours.
We'll be seeing him later, but not necessarily in the way you expect.
Ah, mysteries and shenanigans. Is there anything to say before the part's over, mate?
No, let's kick it.
Okay, Tolstar's a bitch, and we took him to the bank, so to speak. We'll see you all next time for another part of Superstar Saga. Goodbye for now, my friends.